that it's probably going to last till 2015. When is the heart?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I think these times are very, very intense for at least, I would say at least until we have Saturn going into Capricorn, which really, and that's when I think we will see the beginnings, and I say the beginnings of structures again. And that really isn't going to be until around 2019, 2018, 2019, 2020. Because it's all very well, you're pinning me down to the Cardinal Climax, Gaia, but we have other aspects that are coming up as well that will still cause, I feel, this Cardinal Climax to reverberate for years past it. But certainly between now and 2015, at the very least, will be extremely volatile, changeable, but within those changing times will be the opportunity for a lot of new things to come out of a lot of these difficult things.
And what's standing out for me is that we've learned from the old patterns, we've learned and evolved new patterns where we've become more individualistic. And I think now we are forced to lose that and become more global, more really united, isn't it?
Yes,
and
very
more
much.
generous and loving and going back to the basics. Now, Barbara, as a fantastic astrologer, how could our listeners, what do they need to do? So send in their date of birth to you and you could tell them what they're in for and where it is for them?
I would need date, time if they have it, and place of birth. And they could ask me like one question, which I answer. It's a one question deal, because I tried to do something, because I know a lot of people are struggling financially. It's for $25. You can ask me one question, say about the Cardinal Climax if you wanted to, and I'll answer you in an email of up to 150 words. If you wanted something more than that, then you might want a half-hour reading or a 1 hour in-depth reading, depending what's happening for you in your life and the kind of urgency that you're feeling. Or you might want to order my $5 Cardinal Climax audio that you could listen to, that will also tell you a little bit about what's happening in the various houses and signs.
That's interesting. Now, Barbara, on a personal note, how do you use astrology? Do you use it on a daily basis for yourself?
To be honest with you, I don't get time to use it on a daily basis myself. I'm looking at other people's charts for the most part. I use it more, of course, I know roughly in my head where the big transits are, what's happening. Of course, I've been experiencing a great deal of turbulence in my home base. Saturn has been transiting my 4th house, and all my Libran planets are in that 4th house, and we've had the earthquakes in Christchurch, my home being in Christchurch getting shaken up, my whole life being shaken up right to the very core and the roots of it. So certainly it's been affecting me personally very deeply. So I use it on a personal basis to the best of my ability to prepare. So I can try to prepare myself best I can with the transits that I'm seeing coming. But probably I use it much more for my clients, and I use it more on the global level because I think it could be very valuable right now for global and world predictions, because we are a global community and with giving that information out as and when I see it.
What message would you love to get across to our listeners from all over the world?
I guess the message is that these are difficult times. There's no question. You can dress it up as much as you'd like to, and I have had a tendency in the past with all my Jupiter to say, there are good things, and yes, there are always good things despite the bad. But make no mistake, these are difficult times, these are changing times, and for many people these are frightening times. And just to acknowledge that it's okay to feel those emotions. Don't sort of pretend that you've got to be okay and everything is going to be good. While you're going through a crisis, everything is not good and everything is difficult. So that's the first thing to say, to give yourself permission to have those emotions and feelings, to try not to be too isolated, to reach out to people if you can, to make some, even if it's just small preparations if you can, for survival. Have at least some spare water, some food, a first aid kit, a bag of things that you can run out with if you need to evacuate from where you are at short notice. Just any drugs or medications that you have, any personal papers that you need, make sure you've got them in a little bag that you could go and move with in case you had to move. The people in Japan didn't get that kind of warning. You may be lucky enough to have some kind of warning and you're able to move quickly. So be ready to move quickly, be ready to move on a dime. Don't lose hope. Of course, there is always hope, and you may be called upon, because those of you that prepare to the best of your ability, physically with survival, mentally and emotionally, you're going to be in a much better place to help others should you be needed when the time comes. And boy, I think there will be people who will need a lot of help. And if those of us who are strong and who have prepared ourselves mentally will be able to help those through it to a better life and better times. And the world did need to change. It does need to change. It's tremendously imbalanced right now. It's out of balance. There is far too much difference between the haves and the have-nots, and that's never going to create peace. And I, for one, want to see a world of peace, of love, of humanity coming together. Right now it's a dream. I do believe that these changes and the chaos that are coming will force us. We wouldn't do it of our own volition for the most part, but will force us out of our comfort zones into something new and hopefully much, much better.
Thank you, Barbara. Now, on a metaphysical note, is it good for individuals to get into meditation and more affirmations and really personal spiritual transformation at this point in time?
Very much so. I mean, that's always a given, always. If you can meditate, if you can visualize, send love, send light, that is always a wonderful thing to be doing, yes.
And this is out of curiosity, are there cardinal countries?
Are there cardinal countries? That's a good question. There's controversy about countries and their signs. So, for example, as far as I know, the UK, for example, is Capricorn, is cardinal, but is a Capricorn country. The United States is a Gemini country. Let me see. Let's see, what other countries do I know just off the top of my head? I think Switzerland is Taurus, ruling money, ruling finance. Italy, I believe, is Leo, a Leo country, the sun, the sunshine. India, I think, also is a Capricorn country. Gosh, these are all off the top of my head. I would have to look some of them up to be absolutely sure, but that gives you a few.
What about China? Would you know?
China is, I just looked at China's chart recently. China is, I think it's Scorpio. It's got a lot of scorpionic energy. It's got Scorpio and Aquarius in its chart, but a lot of 8th house stuff, and we very often don't know what China is doing or what China is up to, and boy, that chart indicates it. China's chart indicates that very much so.
Wow. So people living in these countries will be also affected with the country's own shifts, isn't it?
With the country's own shifts and also with their city, because each city has a sign as well, depending when it was formed.
Wow. And Barbara, now we have the Vedic astrology system and the Western astrology system. How different are they in predictive astrology?
It's interesting you should say that, because I've only studied the Vedic a little bit. And of course the signs and everything's quite different. But what I find is that clients who come to me,